I am not as disciplined as I would like. I was bamboozled. Bridget Jones monologue. My folks struggled to make ends meet. What's wrong with you? What's up, you guys, and welcome to a new video. June is actually coming to an end, so I thought it would be really cool if I did a little mid-year check-in with you guys. I don't know about you, but this has been one of the hardest years for me so far. As a matter of fact, even harder than 2020, and that says a lot. So I kind of wanted to just reflect and look back at the past 6 months and check in with you guys too, because we're in this together. I want to make sure that you guys are doing okay. Are you checking off things off your goals list? And then of course checking in with myself. So in this video, we're gonna be looking back at the past 6 months and just really talking about some lessons that we've learned and what we can do for the remainder of the year. And just for a disclaimer, I would say we probably have about 3 months to get our shit together because the holidays are out. Like, I'm not doing anything productive for the holidays. I feel like that's my season. My birthday is in the holidays. Like, I just want to go crazy. So we don't have a lot of time to get ourselves together. And I honestly can't believe that, you know, the time has flown by so fast. Like, I remember celebrating Ariane's birthday like it was yesterday. Literally driving on the toll to Hermosa Cove like yesterday. Yet still, fast forward, so many things have happened within the span of 6 months. So many life-changing things, and so many things that have me reconsidering my whole existence in round 2 of my midlife crisis. But we move. Without further ado, let's just get into it. So the first half of 2025 has been pretty much a mix of me being in my soft girl era, my socialite era, and me fighting for my life all at the same time. Some days I woke up and I was thriving, going to Pilates, making a nice clean breakfast, and there were other days when I was Googling how to disappear to Mexico without a trace, but make it aesthetic. Personally, I would say I've done a lot of growing this year. For instance, I've learned how to say no a little bit better without having to explain myself or give a 3-paragraph essay on why no means no. If I'm being honest, 2024 for me was a year where I really came into myself and sort of learned the best way that I operate and how I deal with things, and I've gotten really comfortable with that. So 2025 so far has been a year of just solidifying that. If I were to say I've learned anything this year, this has always been a recurring lesson for me, but it's that at the end of the day, no one will have your self-interest at heart like you do, which almost sounds sad to say. And I'm not saying screw the world, I'm in this by myself, absolutely not. And I definitely was in a place like that a few years ago probably, but not anymore. Not to toot my own horn or not to sound arrogant or anything, but I do think that I'm a very kind person, and I keep having to relearn the fact that not everyone will extend the same amount of kindness that I extend to them. And it's not to say it's malicious or, you know, mean, or there's any ill intent in that. Sometimes it's just that people have their own priorities, so there's no room for them to prioritize you. And that's something I've had to relearn over and over and over, and I think I will continue to learn that for the next couple of years. I will bend over backwards for friends, family, but sometimes they just don't have the capacity to extend the same helping hand to me. And sometimes I will internalize that and think, okay, why am I doing all this then if you won't even reciprocate it? But sometimes it's not like the relationship has to be 50-50. One thing I'm coming to terms with this year is the fact that if somebody's at 40% capacity or 30% capacity and I'm able to fill the extra 10 or 20%, then I should do that. I feel like if it's a case where you really care about a person, you're willing to meet them halfway or even more than halfway. It does come to a point though, but I'm definitely trying to learn that balance. This year I've also learned that honestly I'm not a very disciplined person, and one might argue and say that, okay, but you're disciplined enough to ensure that you're eating at least 2 square meals a day, or you're disciplined enough to show up to work on time, or you're disciplined enough to do the chores on the weekends. And that would be true, but I feel like for the things that I really need to get done, especially when it concerns me and not other people's work, I am not as disciplined as I would like. For instance, I feel like I was a lot better at going to the gym last year, but for some reason this year I have not been able to be consistent in my attendance. So I feel like I will end up going for a week straight. Love it. But then if I end up missing Pilates on a Saturday, I'm like, oh my god, my streak is over. Let's just start over. Let's just reset. And honestly, that reset doesn't even happen until maybe 2 weeks after. And that's how I've been operating. It's not a space that I like to operate in. I could give the excuse that, okay, life happens, or I don't know, I'm just tired on certain days, or maybe my body needs a break. But the truth is, I feel like if I really wanted to, I would. If I really wanted to, I would. And I do feel like I want to. My mind wants to. Do you know what I mean? Like, my mind wants to. But when it's 4 a.m. in the morning and my alarm goes off, my body's like, it's okay. You can skip the gym today. It's just one day. Then one day turns into 2 into 3, 4, 5. We're going on 3-4 weeks now of me not being in the gym, and that's just one example of my lack of discipline. I have not been good about reading my Bible every morning. I haven't been good about praying in the mornings. I haven't been good about going to church on Sundays. I haven't been good about working on my own business. For those of you who don't know, actually I don't even think I've ever spoken about this, but I did launch a business last year. And luckily I've been able to kick it off this year. We'll get into that a little bit further, but I feel like I can put in a lot more effort into my business. But I don't know, sometimes I just don't feel like it. I don't feel motivated to. And that's my problem. I feel like I've operated in a place of doing things out of motivation and not discipline, because I feel like discipline exists outside of motivation. Discipline is you doing things whether or not you feel motivated. Discipline is doing the things that you need to do even when you don't feel like it, or doing it until it becomes routine. And I feel like I have done a terrible job of that this year, and I'm only able to do the things that I know I need to do but don't want to do because it affects other people. For instance, going to work. I know that if I don't go to work or clock into work on time or at all for the day, or actually do my work, then it will begin to affect other people. So I do it out of obligation, but for the things that I know I'm not obligated to do and I have a choice, I end up making the wrong choice. So that's definitely something I want to work on for the latter part of the year. This year, I have also come to terms with the fact that I am not the kind of person who likes to read or write. And I know that sounds completely illiterate or crazy, but when I say read or write, I mean I don't like to journal and I don't like to read books. I have not tried fictional books, like, you know, those fantasy fairy kind of books, or like buying the volumes of Harry Potter or whatever. I haven't tried those. So far I've only tried like self-help books, but for the life of me, they put me to sleep. I cannot do it. And journaling is worse. Like, I cannot put my thoughts on paper. I end up overthinking what I need to write down. I end up thinking, okay, I need to flesh this out some more. I need to be writing more. It should sound like a beautiful essay, or what's that movie called? Bridget Jones' monologue. You know what I mean? Like, it should sound like poetry. But when I journal, it just sounds like brain farts. And I don't know, I just can't get into it, let alone remember to do it in the mornings or at night. I just can't get into it. I want to be that girl, like, so badly. I want to be the 5-minute journal girl, but I'm just not there. For the first part of the year, I tried my hardest to get into that. I was reading what's that book called? The one about habits. I'm gonna put a screenshot of it on screen. I got the ebook version and I did read it back in like 2020, and I was trying to read it again this year, so I bought the hard copy because I'm like, I look at screens all day for a living. I want to read a hard copy book. I got the hard copy. When I tell you, it's collecting dust. But like I said, I really want to be the kind of girl that writes down her routines, to-do lists, journaling, and reading books. I don't know how I can get into it for the latter part of the year, but that's definitely something I also want to work on. I did touch on this before, but on my vision board, I wanted to get my business off the ground, and glory be to God, I was able to do that this year by signing about 2 contracts, and so far things are going pretty well. Sometimes I do feel very overwhelmed because it's just me. I don't feel like revealing the name of my business right now. I will hard launch it when I really get things off the ground, but sometimes I do feel overwhelmed, especially with juggling a 9-to-5. To expand on this goal, for the latter part of the year, my aim is to hire 2 more persons on top of myself to help me with designing creatives and then doing some admin stuff. That's my goal for the rest of the year. I'm gonna put it out there, I'm gonna manifest it, it's gonna work out. So honestly, I'm still trying to work out the logistics of it, but that's definitely something that I want to achieve for the remainder of the year, because I feel like once I have that sorted, then I can stay with my 9-to-5. If not, I think maybe I need to rethink what my priorities are. And speaking of a 9-to-5, I remember sometime last year in one of the vlogs I had done like a little sit down chat with you guys and told you that I had found a job somewhere and it felt super warm and open, and that the owner wanted to make sure that everybody was good. I was bamboozled, guys. I was bamboozled. That job was not what I thought it was, and I'm not even gonna get into it, but I ended up quitting that, and I did start a new job recently and it's going pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with where I am right now, but now it's just a matter of juggling my 9-to-5 with what I have on the side. So that being said, getting a new job this year was a big win for me, especially since when I quit that job before, I quit on faith because I hadn't gotten any callbacks yet at the time, and I think I quit probably like on a Friday. So I was at home the following Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the Thursday I think I got this call to say that, okay, we'd like to engage you for this job, we'd like to hire you for this job, how soon can you start? And I was like, Monday. Let's start on Monday, because ain't no way, like I'm not the kind of girl to just sit down at her yard doing anything, doing nothing. Mind you, I would have been good regardless because I did already have a registered business. So all I would have needed to do is to get contracts signed. But I still like the security of having a 9-to-5 for now. So I know that if anything happens, and this is what I've learned from freelancing over the years, if anything happens, I have something to fall back on. Okay, so let's talk wellness. I touched on this before, but one thing I currently loathe about myself is my flakiness with the gym. Right now we have a love-hate relationship, and not because I think the workouts are hard, it's more like I just can't be bothered. But the problem is, especially now that I don't currently have my car, I feel like I really want to go to the gym, and it's pissing me off so badly. Which is so funny because when I did have my car, I was not going. Like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with you? For the past 6 months, me and the gym, we've had like a love-hate relationship. Some days I would go, I would love it, feel energized, especially with Pilates. Love Pilates. But then there are days where I would go and it just felt like pulling teeth, and I was dragging my feet, and oh, I just want to get this over with. But honestly, I am a believer in, especially now that I'm getting older, we've passed 25, we're a quarter into the century, it's time we prioritize movement, because I don't want to be a 30-year-old with back pain or neck pain, right? Especially since the kind of work that I do has me sitting in one spot for hours. My screen time is pretty high, so going outside to touch grass would be nice too, like going for a walk. So I was actually thinking about trying 75 hard. Not soft, hard. That's something I want to see if challenging myself to do 75 days can get me into a habit of doing certain things, including going to the gym. On top of that though, I am super proud of myself. because the other day I was going through my bank statements because I was looking for a certain transaction that I did last year, and when I tell you, most of the transactions on my card on that statement for the bulk of last year were food delivery orders. I don't know, Seven Crave and Hello Food did have me in a chokehold last year. I was not cooking or anything, but I'm so proud of myself because I am doing a lot more cooking this year. I'm doing a lot more cooking this year, and I feel like I'm eating a lot better. So even though last year I was going to the gym a lot more, this year I feel like I'm eating a lot better. And from what I've read, not to like hype me up because I still need to get back into the gym, but from what I read, you burn more calories based off of your eating habits and not so much going to the gym. But I am really super proud of the fact that I am eating a lot better this year. Let's talk finances. So since moving to Kingston, I've always heard that I'm an uptown girl, which honestly the term is lost on me. I feel like that's just a socio-economic thing in Kingston and not really anywhere else. Obviously, like, you have different class systems like middle class, lower class, upper class, whatever, but being called uptown and what comes with that has always been lost on me because I didn't grow up rich, guys. I didn't grow up with a gold spoon, silver spoon, bronze spoon in my mouth, probably not even copper, honestly. My folks struggled to make ends meet to the point where I used to dream of going on profile to tell my story whenever I get rich and famous one day. Obviously that's not gonna happen now. Maybe sim soul sessions, who knows. I say all that to say I moved to Kingston because you get paid a lot more on this side of the island versus where I'm from, and because of that I've been able to try things that I wouldn't even have dreamed possible when I was growing up, like regularly getting my hair done or regularly getting my nails done, shopping whenever I want to, which is cool. But I feel like for the longest while I got carried away in the sense of trying to rush things instead of taking things slow, especially since I didn't have a head start in life. So this year my goal was to get better at managing my finances, whether it was how I manage my day-to-day expenses or how I manage my monthly expenses, how I'm managing my needs versus my wants, how I'm managing debt, like I got a car last year, how I'm managing assets or how it is I plan on obtaining assets. That's something I have really prioritized this year, and I feel like it's still work in progress. I've gotten a lot better at the back end stuff in terms of managing the money or putting a label on monies that I get. I think what I really want to do for the remainder of the year is get myself a little bit more educated on finances in terms of really understanding investing, because I've always had a mentality that okay, I'll just put it in a unit trust and then the bank will figure it out. But how much more valuable is it for me to understand it and manage my own money and have control over my own money? That's definitely something I want to get into this year. So on top of being able to manage my money practically, I want to manage it in theory. So I would love to do a lot more learning in terms of investing, pension plans. I'm gonna be coming off of my dad's life insurance policy soon. I'm gonna have to get into that kind of stuff. The adulting is real. I think we're gonna talk about relationships in the earthly sense and then in the spiritual sense. One thing I've learned this year is to really trust people, but not blindly. For a long time I grew up as a people pleaser who would always try to do things to fit in a mold so that other people would just like me, and I would also trust people blindly because I wanted them to like me or I wanted them to also trust me. So I was bending over backwards, I was doing things hell and high water, like I was going the extra mile for people and expecting them to do the same for me. But over the years I've gotten hurt a lot because of that, and I can't even really blame anybody because I set myself up. And the difference comes in when you acknowledge how people treat you. What separates you from being a doormat is making notes and acting accordingly to how people treat you. Not to say that if you treat me bad, me go treat you bad. If it is that I realize that you cannot go around me, I will not continue to entertain or fight for you to like me or fight for you to treat me the way I want you to treat me. That's not something I'm going to be doing anymore. I feel like I've come more to terms with that this year when it comes on to friendships, when it comes on to relationships, intimate relationships, any kind of relationships. Honestly, I feel like I've come more into my own and just being okay with knowing that if you're weird, that's okay, you can be weird, but be weird over there. I feel like I've come to terms with reading people and with my discernment and really acknowledging how people treat me and how I need to operate after that. And because of that, I feel like I've really found a solid friend in Ariane. Like this year, we've been through so much together, like you guys wouldn't even know. We're each going through our own separate struggles, but for whatever reason, she has proven herself to be a really good friend. Like I don't know what else to say. She has been such a light in my life, and Ari, if you're watching this, I absolutely love you and I adore you and you're stuck with me for life. Sorry. On the spiritual side of things now, honestly, I feel like I started the year well, but I'm having internal conflict on whether or not I'm sincere enough or I'm patient enough. And it does also tie into the whole discipline issue that I'm having. I feel like I wake up and I don't have the motivation to go to church. I don't have the motivation sometimes to pray. I don't have the motivation sometimes to read my Bible. And I know it's like Christian to Christian or believer to believer. I know that's my flesh fighting with my spirit. I know that, you know, I gotta push through it regardless. But at the end of the day, like I just have a problem with discipline. And sometimes I do pray about it. But I think I also need practical ways to deal with things like this. So again, I'm open to your suggestions. I would love to become more of a disciplined person when it comes on to my relationships, when it comes on to my personal growth, when it comes on to my career, and when it comes on to my spirituality. I think that's the one thing that's missing. And if I were to unlock that, I feel like heaven would sing. I'm telling you, there'd be a big choir, heaven would sing. Tabernacle choir could never, heaven would be singing. I already mentioned this, but a win for the year would be getting my business off the ground. I don't think it hit me how much of a big deal that was because I had been freelancing before. So even though I didn't have a business per se or a registered business per se, I was still acting as a contractor for certain businesses, whether on short-term contracts or more long-term contracts. I would help out other agencies here and there. But launching something for myself, it didn't even hit me until maybe like 2 days ago. I'm telling you, 2 days ago when I was on the phone with Ariane and I was telling her, man, like, I don't think this year I've really accomplished anything. She was like, are you kidding me? You signed 2 contracts. And I'm like, you know what? That is a big deal. I haven't even celebrated that. Lesson number 1 is taking a moment to reflect on how far you've come, which is what we're doing right now. And then 2, keep people in your corner who will remind you of who you are. So thanks, Ari. So that was definitely a big win for me this year. I think I should celebrate. After putting things into perspective, she kind of made me realize that honestly, I could do this. I've always thought of myself as not being cut out for business because I'm an empath. I don't feel like I'm assertive enough or strict enough for business. But I feel like that's not true. If you're called to do something, God is calling you already knowing what kind of person you are, already knowing how you operate, already knowing what your flaws are and what your faults are. So even if I see myself as being too soft or too empathetic of people, that doesn't mean that I can be an entrepreneur. I can do business. I think the reason why I couldn't really see a win for myself this year prior to having that conversation with Ari is because I know that a lot of people compare themselves to people online. Right now, I'm comparing myself today to where I was last year, which is so hard because I mean, you're gonna have different experiences different years. Every year isn't gonna be the same. Every year isn't gonna be a high. Every year isn't gonna be a low. I remember 2020 sucked for a lot of people, but 2021 turned out great, or 2022 or 2023, you know what I mean? But last year was such a good year for me because I had just moved into this apartment. I secured this apartment. I got a car. I was getting brand deals left and right. I was so overwhelmed last year because of all the deals that I was getting. But this year has been slow in terms of brand deals, and it felt like I didn't have anything tangible to say, okay, I bought this with my hard-earned money, or I earned this with my hard-earned money, but I got my business off the ground. That's not something I was able to do last year, and that was something I was able to achieve this year. And I think that is a win. I should celebrate. In the same breath though, we can talk about challenges this year. One thing has been finances, especially because the brand deals have not been coming in as fast as they were last year. So I feel like I was on a high last year, and then all of a sudden things just plateaued. And then on top of that, I ended up working for an agency that really wasn't paying me what matched up with my lifestyle, and by lifestyle I mean rent. But glory be to God, I was able to get another job that did just the trick. But I do feel like I want to get in a better place with finances, so I don't feel like that again, just in case anything happens. But that was pretty hard for the bulk of this year. On top of that, there have been a lot of unexpected expenses this year, the most recent being my car. And I don't know if I've ever said this, but I was in a little fender bender last year, and I don't even know if I should call it little anymore because it feels like this is haunting me. Because what I thought was resolved last year and over with and done with, all of a sudden now I need to buy some parts for the car to get it fixed, and these parts have to be special ordered, so you can imagine how expensive it's becoming. But these things happen for a reason. I don't know the reason yet, but I'm sure there's a reason. So let's talk goals for the rest of the year. I think I said this before, but we're not gonna include maybe like a piece in November. We're not including December in this, so realistically we only have like July, August, September, October. 4 months to get ourselves together. My goals for this year would be to become a more disciplined person, and what we're chasing is progression, not perfection. I don't think I need to be a robot to consider myself disciplined, but I need to get the things I need to get right. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to live. Oh, it's so toxic seeing the content online with those girls going to Pilates and then grabbing a matcha afterwards and then typing away on their laptops like they're doing work, and then having meetings and just looking productive. And you know, like, I want that life for me. That's not possible right now, so I'm gonna work with what I have and the schedule that I have right now. So if that means I have to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning to go to the gym, I'm gonna make sure I do it. Even if that means I have to take a nap at 12 or 1 in the afternoon, I'm gonna do it. I want to live a meaningful life, and I want to work towards a meaningful life this year, and that looks like becoming more disciplined when it comes onto my health, my wellness, and my spirituality. Becoming more consistent, whether it's with content, whether it's with work, whether it's with my brand. I want to become more of a consistent person, and I know that's not gonna look like showing up on a daily basis, but I want to show up for me even if I don't feel like showing up for me. Getting my finances together, I feel like that's number 1 on the list, and I cannot stress that enough. I also want to be able to afford things to help my family, to help my friends. Honestly, I'm not gonna say money buys happiness, but it can help you live a comfortable life, and I like being comfortable. I don't know about you. And I know this sounds corny, but I want to romanticize life again. I feel like I haven't been doing that. Sure, Monday mornings are hard, but how can I romanticize a Monday? without it being content, because I don't want to do things just for Instagram. I don't want to do things just for YouTube. I want to genuinely love living, and I want to genuinely love life. So just being more intentional about how I'm living, I guess. If I'm doing errands, we can do errands, but let's do it in some lip gloss. Let's dress up a bit. Let's elevate the look or something. Let's grab a matcha afterwards. You know what I mean? If it's, like I said before, like a Monday and the Monday is just rough, let's pour myself a glass of wine afterwards, because you deserve this treat. And honestly, this was not on my vision board for this year, but I've been thinking about it a lot. But I think I'd actually like to start traveling this year. I know we just talked about finances and how we can get better at it, but I feel like a part of romanticizing life is seeing what life is like outside of these four walls, outside of the border of this parish, outside of the jurisdiction of this country. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to see what life is like outside of Jamaica. I want to see what life is like outside of Kingston. I've been so blessed to be able to visit Portland or Negril in my lifetime. I want to see a little bit more of Jamaica. I want to see a little bit more of the world. So that's something I'm thinking about doing this year. Who knows, maybe for my birthday I can try a little something. But that's definitely something I would like to try, and maybe see if I could fall in love with it. But if you've made it this far into the video, honestly, if you have, you're a real one for that. Comment your last emoji, comment your most recent emoji if you've made it this far. But if you have made it this far, this is your sign to just take the time to check in with yourself, check in on how you've grown this year so far, the things that you've been able to accomplish this year so far, the things you want to do moving forward. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and if you liked this video and want more videos like these, give this video a thumbs up. Be sure to comment, like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube things, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.